Hello viewers, he's the Mindful Man. Mr. Bramley asked all the pupils about their favourite places and what they liked about them. When it was Tom and James' turn, they went into overdrive about all the things they would love to see and do when they got there. Everyone listened and their enthusiasm swept through the whole class. Lucy and Anne listened attentively, not put off by all the bravado and cockiness. When it was over, Mr. Bramley congratulated them and applause rang round the class. Then it was Lucy and Anne's turn, and they went into detail about all the charming and cool things they would do, and all the adventures they would have, drinking coffee and wandering around the streets looking up to see the Eiffel Tower. Mr. Bramley was beside himself. "Well," he said, "you have certainly painted a vivid picture of Paris. You've made me wish I was there myself," he said, smiling. "It made me want to run round the art galleries and drink in all the culture." At break time they all relaxed and chatted about the lesson. "I enjoyed it," said Lucy, "but it makes me sad that I'll never get out of here." "Me too," said Anne. Tom and James were still buzzing from the lesson. It was exhilarating looking at all the photos of American culture. "I need a coffee to help me come back down to earth," said Tom. The girls were busy whispering to one another, probably still dreaming of romantic Paris. James began reminiscing about the night before. "Maybe we should tell the girls," he said. "They'd be shocked, but I'm sure they'd enjoy helping us." "That's true," said Tom. "But where do we start and what do we do?" The girls asked them what they were talking about, and they went through the whole story. You couldn't hear a pin drop as they listened open-mouthed. "I can't believe he could do that," said Lucy. "How can he get away with it?" implored Anne. They talked about the photos and wondered what could have driven the headmaster to do such a thing. "They looked so happy together," Lucy said sadly. "Yeah, at first," interjected Anne bitterly. "Who do we tell this to?" said Anne. "I'm not sure," said Tom. "We need more evidence." "So that's why she's running around like a tortured spirit. She was murdered by her lover, and when she was probably looking forward to getting married. It was time to go back to the lesson." "We'll talk about it later," said Tom. The lesson carried on as before, but it was hard for them to concentrate. All they could think about was solving the mystery of why and how she had been killed, and what they were going to do about it. It was hard for them to do anything, as there was no police to know of, and no courts and no way to dispense justice. They didn't want to become victims themselves. Their heads were abuzz with thought of confronting Mr. Graves, yet they didn't know if this was a good idea. Finally their lesson ended, and they piled into the boys' dormitory and tried to formulate a plan to confront Mr. Graves. Anne suggested going back to the cottage to look for clues, but Tom and James were not keen on the idea, and Lucy looked terrified. They considered telling another teacher, but this was quickly vetoed as being too risky because none of them knew if they could be trusted. After all, they were outsiders. Anne confronted the others and demanded that they go back to the cottage that night. They were startled but reluctantly agreed. Tom and James weren't sure what it would achieve, but they went along with it. Hope you enjoyed this chapter. Please sub me.